So it turns out people are super interested in chess. Like the same way people go to football games or like stadiums to watch League of Legends, people have been watching chess. And it's not just because of the Queen's Gambit, like people just really like chess as like a sport. And it turns out people I know and people I follow on the internet are also super into chess because I've been seeing this scandal everywhere.
The world of competitive chess was upended in September when 19-year-old American Grandmaster Hans "Smokey" Niemann was accused of cheating by 5-time world champion Magnus Carlsen.
There was a chess match, a tournament, and you had the number 1 seed, Magnus Carlsen, playing the number 40 seed, Hans Niemann. Magnus, he had the first move advantage. He was on a 53 game streak, and he's just a much better player, and he lost. He lost to Hans Niemann. I realize you should call it like Carlsen versus Niemann or Magnus versus Hans, but like it just feels right to say Magnus versus Niemann. So that's what I'm gonna do. So in Magnus versus Niemann, Niemann won. A shocking upset. They play again later and Magnus resigns the game after one move. And he accuses Niemann of cheating. There's so much interesting stuff in this story. First of all, who knew chess was this popular? Who knew it was like an e-sport where people like go to watch, not even to play? Like people make livings off chess. You can play in a tournament and win hundreds of thousands of dollars. Who knew? That's fascinating. I also think it's interesting how a lot of vocal supporters of chess have like this specific personality where they're like, I'm smart, so I like chess. It reminds me when I was in graduate school and like we were paid $27,000 a year, but also we had to share an office with like 16 people and like we had a chess set and a checker set. So one day me and this guy are playing checkers and another guy comes into our office and the guy I'm playing with goes, hey man, do you want next game? And the guy is like, oh, I don't play checkers. It's a solved game. It's just so boring. Like I could play chess though. And it's just like, okay, have you solved checkers? Is that what you've done? Like it's in your head, you're doing 10 to the 30 calculations per second to solve the checkers game. Like, okay. But secondly, like, I don't believe you. Like maybe you're really good at checkers because like you've played a lot and you can like develop techniques to beat people who don't play checkers a lot. But like, if you were so good at checkers, wouldn't you just play? Wouldn't you just be like, oh, I'll play you checkers, but I want to warn you, I'm really good, you know? Also very funny on the personalities of chess is like the next level up, like the person who's like, oh, chess is too easy for me. I'm so smart, like this. It's got the energy of like a mom and a parent-teacher conference who's like, no, Aiden is so smart. He's so smart at math. He's so smart and he's just bored. He's just bored. That's why he's failing. Like, he's just bored. And it's like, but if Aiden was so smart, wouldn't he just spend 5 minutes and do the algebra worksheet and sleep? Is Aiden so smart? Or have you been calling him so smart for his entire life and like for the first time he's confronted with the fact that he can't get stuff right away and like maybe math is a little harder than he thought. It doesn't just come easily, but he's too scared to fail. He's too scared to look at the worksheet and not understand, so he just doesn't do it. And so he's failing, because whose fault is that? I don't think it's the teacher's fault. Anyway, if you're so good at chess that it's too easy for you, like play, show me, do it. Like find Niemann. Niemann seems like the type of person that would play Elon Musk at chess. Like, let's watch it. So you have these personalities that follow chess, but also Magnus v. Niemann are these two big personalities in chess. Like Magnus is a former prodigy because now he's an adult and he's just a regular person who's really good at chess. Then you have Niemann, who's like a young guy. He's 19. He behaves like this.
It's fucking good! Get fucking down and bow down! I feel kind of bad that the one thing I'm focused on right now is...
So there's a lot happening there. Like, how does it feel to be a former child prodigy and now you're 30 and you're playing a new childish prodigy, right?
Yeah, I was born in 1990. Now I'm turning 30. God damn it.
I also think it's interesting how personality can affect a chess game. Like imagine you're at a tournament, right? you're going to be watching your games during the day, but like when you go back to your hotel at night, you're going to be following all the other games. So like maybe you're playing someone tomorrow, you look up all their games and you're like, okay, she always opens the same way. She always plays to the same side of the board. She's cautious with her rooks or something. And you would develop like a strategy to play her right. So you've developed this strategy to play this chess player, and she sits down and she does something totally different. Like I feel like you could really fuck with people that way. like they expect you to play one way, you sit down and you do something totally unexpected. And now the person you're playing is going to be like, well, there goes my strategy. She's playing totally different. Like, what is she gonna play? Like, how did she change it? Like, that could be really fun. But imagine if you're playing a known cheater. So Niemann has stated that he's cheated before. He's been caught cheating, and he's like, oh, I don't cheat anymore, it's fine. But he also acts like this. So like, okay. Like you sit down to your game with someone you suspect of cheating, how do you handle their moves? Like essentially you're just playing a computer, right? And when you play a computer, the computer will always win. So like it must be totally demoralizing. Like the psychology of sitting down with someone you suspect of cheating, like who are you playing? Are you playing this person? Are you playing the cheater? Like it could really affect your game. Magnus has gone on record saying he doesn't like to play the computers because it's really demoralizing to sit down and be like, well, I'm going to lose this game. I'm going to lose this game.
Right now, there's no competition. The computers are just much too good.
That's chess grandmaster, author, and columnist Andrew Soltis.
The world champion, Magnus Carlsen, won't even play his computer. He uses it to train, to recommend moves for future competition. But he won't play it because he just loses all the time, and there's nothing more depressing than losing without even being in the game.
You just can't ever win against a computer, which means you can't win against a cheater. So Magnus accuses Niemann of cheating. He forfeits the next game after one move, and he's like, I will not participate in any tournaments in the future with Niemann because I think he's still cheating. As a result, like bloggers and YouTubers start like analyzing Niemann's game and saying like, how do we know he's cheating? Is he cheating? How can we tell if he's cheating? Chess.com does a study. They release a report and they're like, okay, Niemann says he's only cheated twice, but like he's definitely cheated. More than that, here's our evidence. And now, in something else I find very interesting, Niemann is suing. He's suing chess.com. He's suing Magnus. He's suing some of these YouTubers, and he's saying like, this is defamation. Give me $100 million. And I find defamation suits so interesting. I watch tons of videos on them all the time because a lot comes out in the discovery process, like text messages and emails, and Magnus is very familiar with chess.com. He was selling his business. So I would love to see those emails where they're discussing this problem. And that kind of brings me back to the personalities thing, because this kind of reminds me of like Theranos, these big famous liars, right? Like Theranos, or like Michael Avanti just got sentenced earlier this year. Like, if you're gonna cheat at chess, why would you cheat from the 40 seed to the number 1 seed? Like, if you're gonna cheat at chess and you don't want to get caught, only cheat a little bit. If you're going to lie about the efficacy of your blood testing device, lie a little bit. Say like, oh, it works on this, we'll deploy it in 8 years. Don't send non-working boxes to Walgreens. Don't steal millions of dollars, steal $20,000. Like, imagine you're taking an organic chemistry exam and you come upon the answer sheet, the key, and you have all the answers. Would you sit down and just copy it and turn in 100% paper? No. You would copy to a little bit above your level. Like, if you got a 39% on the first exam and the average was a 51%, you would cheat to a 55%, right? You're not going to cheat to an A+. You're not going to cheat to a 100% level on an exam where the average is going to be 61%, because then it's obvious. It is obvious to beat the number 1 player so easily. Like, cheat to number 9. Cheat this year to the 9th best player, and then next year cheat to the 1st player. Like, The confidence, just the utter confidence of these people to cheat to number one. Absolutely wild. How does he cheat anyway? Like, obviously you need some sort of chess engine that is running the game, and like maybe you're going to the bathroom to check or whatever. Reddit had this story where they were hypothesizing that he had vibrating butt plugs that were like where he could move his hand over a piece or something, and it would be like once for yes, twice for no, which is really silly but very funny, I guess. Looking at this giant plot of things that are interesting about this story, you could talk so much about this story, but this is my channel and I talk about science and data and stuff, and I'm interested in the supercomputers. Like, the sub question of like, how do you cheat at chess is not like, oh, how is he getting the vibration to his butt? That's not that interesting to me. It's more interesting, like, how is he getting the answers? Like, surely he's got an accomplice somewhere in a van following the game. Like, how are they solving chess? How do you actually cheat at chess? I'm gonna do a brief history of computer chess. In the 1800s, there were automated devices that were said to play chess, and they would tour around the country with like these giant mechanical things, and they would play chess and they would be really good at chess, and then later it would be proven to be a hoax. There was always a tiny grandmaster hidden in the box telling the guy where to go. Of course, solving chess requires a computer. You can't mathematically solve chess, so the first computer chess was written by Alan Turing in the 50s, and it could play chess. And the relationship between like chess program and chess player from like the 50s to like the 70s was like, oh, these are hilarious, they're so bad at chess, right? And the computer was bad at chess, but you would use like the software to play chess with a human person. And then it kind of started being like, oh, one day a computer is going to beat a human at chess. And that was like the vibe in the 80s and the 90s. It was like a race. Which computer is going to beat which grandmaster? It gives Rocky movie, right? Like the guy's like training with like his chessboard and he's drinking coffee and he's just like, I don't know if I can beat the machine. And then just like Rocky, the movie, the humans lose, right? Which is kind of funny. It's kind of funny that like these super good chess players, these grandmasters, these like obviously very good like mathematicians, critical thinkers were like, I could beat the computer. Like, I'll always beat the computer. Humans, I don't know, did they think chess required like logic and passion together and you can't just logic your way to a solution? I just think it's kind of funny. So that's the 90s. And then things kind of switch over to like every single time you play a computer at chess, it will win. Obviously, you can toggle the levels. So like, I've been practicing chess while researching this video, and I get on Lichess, I don't know, and I play the computer at level 3, and I want to say I win 10% of the time, which I know is bad. I don't play a lot of chess, or I haven't till recently, so I'm not very good at chess. But if I set it to 10, I would never win. Magnus would never win. Niemann would never win, because the computer is a better chess player now, obviously. It went from like the 60s and 70s where we're like, oh, aren't these computer programs so cute and so little and so fun, to like the 80s and 90s where it was like, uh-oh, these computers are going to be way better at chess, and like I have to train to fight the computer, to like now the 2000s and on, where it's like, obviously computers will always win at chess. We can just use it as a tool to practice our game. And that's how chess players view it now, practicing the game, except for Magnus, because he doesn't want to lose every single time, which like is understandable. But like, you can also like play a game at a tournament and do okay, and then go back, put the game in the computer and think like, what should I have done? And using that, you can get better over time. So like, I know all of this is true, but how is the computer so good at chess? How does that program actually work? And if I was going to write a chess engine, like, how do you start? Like, you teach the computer the board. This is a chessboard. You teach it the pieces, and there's a lot of chess pieces. They all do different moves. They all, right? And it was at this point when I was like, okay, that's way too complicated. How about I teach a computer to play tic-tac-toe, right? Here's the board. There are 9 squares. There are 2 pieces, X's and O's. The only rule is that you alternate turns, and when you get 3 in a row, you win. That's it. Tic-tac-toe is pretty easy to program, right? But how do you get the computer to play tic-tac-toe? Again, if I was doing this, just me, I would just have it randomly, like just give it a random seed and then randomly select a square. So like the user would be like O in the center, and the computer would go, okay, they did O, I must do X, randomly pick one of these 8 boxes and put it down. And then the person would go, and then the computer would be like randomly, and you could just feed that to the computer 1,000 times, right? And I'm pretty sure that would be like every possible tic-tac-toe game, because the thing about tic-tac-toe is that it's symmetric. Like if you open with your X in the top left corner, that is the exact same move as if you were to open with the X in the top right corner, because you can just rotate the board. It's the same move. It has no effect on the outcome of the game, right? Like if I gave my computer those 100 games, the next step would be to sort the games into winning and losing and like first move. So like imagine a tree where it's like, okay, if it's a corner start, all these games are possible. If it's a center start, all these games are possible. So if she starts with an O in the center, there are 2 branches of possibilities, right? Either the computer can do a corner piece or it can do a face piece. And to have the computer decide which is the best option, you just follow the tree down and say like which percentage of wins are in the corner and which percentage of wins are on the face. And you do this decision tree for every single move. Tic-tac-toe is trivially solved. Like if you play tic-tac-toe on a computer, it will never lose. And the actual end result of tic-tac-toe is a null game, meaning no one wins. So that's kind of why tic-tac-toe isn't very fun, right? Like computers have solved tic-tac-toe, but so have adult humans. Like if you sit down with a friend, 2 adults, to play tic-tac-toe, you would play 1 game, get a null, play a second game, get a null, and then be like, oh, we can never lose this game. The only way to lose is if you like mess up somehow, like you get distracted and you don't put the right square. That's what solved means. If 2 players play the best move every time with no mistakes, we know the ending of tic-tac-toe. The answer is that it's null every single time. And that would be it. I've taught the computer to play tic-tac-toe. It would never lose. It might win if you make a mistake, but most of the time it would be null. You could do the exact same process for a more complicated game like checkers. With checkers, the board is way bigger. There are more than 2 pieces, right? You have red and black, but you can also get kinged, and those have different rules. What else? There are jumps. Right. So checkers is more complicated. It is harder for a computer to solve. And I think checkers is like the hardest game that has been solved. And again, what solved means is that if both players play the best move every time, we know how the game is going to end. And just like with tic-tac-toe, checkers will end in a draw. But you can see how even just going from tic-tac-toe to checkers, your decision tree gets huge. Your computer program is going to be accessing a lot of different games because there are way more possible games in checkers than in tic-tac-toe. Orders of magnitude more complicated when you move to chess, right? Because in chess, there are way more than 4 pieces. The board is not symmetric in any way. The king and the queen are swapped on opposite sides. Chess has not been solved, but what you can do is make that program really good at finding the best move next. You don't know how the game ends, but you know what the best move to take is. And with my little tic-tac-toe example, you can see how it's going to get much more complicated, but like that's how it's done, at least I think. There are so many possible games in chess that like you starting upon on the right side of the board is different from you starting on the left side of the board, right? Because the king and queen are swapped on opposite sides of the board. So that's a different game. Like you moving a knight out has hundreds of thousands of 10 to the 15 possibilities for the end of the game. Chess is not solved because even if 2 players do the best move every time, we can just not use computers at this moment to calculate that far ahead. We don't know the end of the game. But just because the chess engines cannot solve the game does not mean that they cannot help you win the game, right? So you have your little decision tree, and in the past 20 years, you optimize how to search it. It's much faster. Computer components are much better. They're smaller, they're lighter weight. Like, you can have a chess engine on your cell phone that is way better than the one that was on a supercomputer that beat the Grandmaster the first time in 1997, right? And chess.com released this document that said, okay, Niemann has cheated a bunch of times, but they're looking at computer games, right? Like obviously he could just have the computer he's playing on and then back here have the computer that he's inputting the moves to get the next move to cheat. But like on an in-person game, like see the person's move and then go, you know what, I have to pee, and get up and go to the bathroom. But like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Like, who would do that? It's so obvious to cheat that way. I think chess players at that elite level are so good that they don't really need to cheat every move. It's just every couple of moves, but like, that's so obvious. And then of course there's the joke with like vibrating butt plugs, but like, wouldn't you see that? Wouldn't it be obvious that someone's like distracted and like unfocused during the game? What evidence do they have that Niemann cheated during this game? And this is actually my favorite part because there's more math. There's this guy, if you're looking into the story, and they keep calling him the Sherlock Holmes of chess, which is very fun. And he has developed like an analysis tool that ranks players, it ranks moves, and assigns like a competency score.
By comparing the moves a player makes against the moves a computer would make, the chess site developed a strength score to determine if a player is playing a better game than their skill level.
So you can kind of see how likely is this game. Like, if Magnus is number 1 in the world and Niemann is number 40, they have scores. And there's a certain margin of error in those scores, right? Like, if Niemann is having a really good day, he's going to play at a higher level. If Magnus is having a rough day, he's going to play at a lower level. But then you can go deeper and look at each move. Like, is Niemann doing the best move on the game at every step? Like, is he playing way above his level? And you can kind of just statistically determine, like, is this game even possible without cheating? And the tool that the Sherlock Holmes of chess has developed is used by people like chess.com to like ban cheaters, which is kind of fun. Like, there's no evidence of cheating, but statistically it's probable that someone cheated. That's fun. These analysis tools are not published, and chess.com even says they don't use his exact method. They use something that's built on that, something similar, which makes sense because you would not want to publish how you track cheaters because it would just teach the cheaters to cheat. It's like when Windows tells you to update something and they say specifically like, hey, we found a deficiency in this, which is why you need to update. And then all the hackers in the world are like, okay, cool. Thank you for telling me about that. I can now use that to access all the computers of the people who didn't update. If they released the cheating algorithm, the cheaters would be like, perfect, now I know exactly how far I can go without triggering like the he's cheating button. Sherlock Holmes chess analyzed the Magnus v. Niemann game and said that it was possible. Like, there was no definitive proof of cheating. Like, it wasn't so outrageous that Niemann played that good that day. Like, it's in the realm of possibility that he didn't cheat, which is interesting. I've been like reading like forums and stuff where big chess heads hang out, and they are all like, it doesn't matter. Like, Niemann cheated anyway. He has a history of cheating. This game was like literally the best game he's ever played in his life. And also, I know lots of people who cheat and don't get caught by the algorithm, so which is kind of funny. It's like the only reason they think he's cheating is because he beat Magnus and he's cheated in the past. And I don't know if that's enough to knock him as a cheater. I mean, it is kind of a valid lesson for the kids out there. Don't cheat because everyone is going to think you're a cheater forever and ever and ever. So the big upset, which is that the 40 seed beat the number 1 seed, is, do they even say that, or is that just a basketball thing? I don't know sports. But the analysis shows that the game is possible. Like, it could have happened that way. The other big thing was that Magnus was on a 53-game streak, and it's like, I mean, streaks end. Also, like, he was playing someone he knows has been a cheater in the past. Like, maybe that fucked up with how he wanted to play, and like, he played a worse game because of it. And they also said, but Magnus had the first move advantage, which is interesting. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm such a fucking loser. I saw, but Magnus had the first move advantage on Twitter, and I was like, they solved chess? They solved chess? I didn't hear about it? Oh my god, that's so exciting. And I like went to Wikipedia, because if you say first move advantage, to me, that implies that chess has been solved, and we know for a fact that two opponents playing to the best of their abilities, white will always win because white has a first move advantage. And so they were like, but Magnus had the first move advantage. And I was like, wow, they solved chess, and they haven't solved chess. Of course they haven't. We would have heard about it. So what is the first move advantage that Magnus had that means that Niemann had to cheat? I don't understand it. If you look into this, in tournament games between equally matched opponents, white wins 52% of the time. I don't think that implies that white has an actual advantage in the game. And I just have a gut feeling about it. Like tic-tac-toe ends in a null, checkers ends in a null. If two people are playing chess with perfect moves every time, I just bet it's gonna end in a stalemate. I just feel like that's true. And I'm just gonna say that some really good chess players agree with me, and they're like, the better player is gonna win no matter what. Black just takes longer. Maybe there's like some psychology into it. Like the first person gets to control the game a little bit by like starting in a position or like guiding where the game goes. I don't know, but I think this first move advantage is kind of bunk too. So like maybe Niemann just played the best game of his life and he beat Magnus. I know this makes me the worst, but like because Niemann acts like this, and he has a history of cheating, I'm just like, surely he cheated, right? Like, is there evidence? I don't know. How did he cheat? I'm so curious. To end this video, I'm just gonna humiliate myself and record myself playing level 3 Lie chess. Thanks for watching. I had one last thought. Some of the evidence, in quotation marks, that Niemann is cheating is that he plays like a bot, like he does moves that you wouldn't expect a human to move. And it's like a criticism of people who cheat, like they do things like sacrifice their queen when like a human would not do that. Niemann is 19. He has not existed in a world where computer chess has not been used. If he's not playing like a bot, he's playing like a human who has been trained by bots, and so his playstyle is going to be different. Like, what if this is the future of chess? Like the same way you can't play WoW without following a bunch of people on forums and getting help from older players, like you won't be able to play chess in the future unless you know how bots play chess, because they're learning all the moves that aren't intuitive to humans.
Which has determined your fate. I've never seen so clear. I feel the end and it's near. The day of reckoning's here. The sound of death